Welcome back, once again adventurers, to Let's Play Chaos Child. In the last episode, Takuru had gambled on the hope that Cafe LAX would be a safe haven for him and his friends throughout the rest of October 23rd. But alas, nothing is ever easy, and even though it all turned out to be a delusion, it was a very clear enough message that Takuru and the others are still very much in danger. But with the cafe no longer a sanctuary of sorts, the only option left was to go to Aoba dorm and hope that everything blew over there. Unfortunately, the clinic is no safer than the manga cafe, as Yui spotted Senri Minamisawa just for a brief moment, but she was there. But luckily, I suppose the silver lining here is that it is October 24th, the day after October 23rd. So, fortunately nobody died, both at the cafe and at Aoba dorm. I say this with much relief because I was sure that something was going to go terribly wrong. In fact, if I'm being truthfully honest, I was actually fearful of Sakuma's safety. And the reason I say that is during the events of Chaos Head, it was none other than Dr. Fumio Takashina over at the AH Tokyo General Hospital who ended up being the fifth victim of the original New Generation Madness. But fortunately, Sakuma, like everyone else, is alive and well. But that only bears the question of, was there a victim on the night of the 23rd of October? I guess we'll have to wait and see what the news feeds say. But back here at the newspaper club room, Kazuki got into her usual gaming position and stretched. She was about to start playing SO2. I chuckled as I opened the lid of my lunchbox. Everything was returning to normal. Well, as far as anything can be claimed to be normal, but there is actually the slight possibility that we have thwarted, well, one aspect of the grand scheme that is going on in Shibuya. But is it enough to derail the entirety of their diabolical plan? I wouldn't bet money on that. But for now, it is just a regular run-of-the-mill day. Inside the lunchbox was a sandwich that Kurusu had made for me. A very nice sandwich. Morning had come. It was a Saturday, but it was the one day of the month we went to school on weekends. And fortunately, I managed to avoid sneezing into the microphone this time, just in time. We'd gotten some sleep at Aoba dorm, then taken showers and come to school. Yui and Arimura still hadn't woken up. I was staying at Aoba Clinic. Yeah, things were very tense last night. But who knows, we might have actually broken the pattern of the second New Generation Madness. If only temporarily. Temporarily. Neither of them seemed hurt, and Kurusu and Uki were staying home to take care of them. For my part, I'd skipped out of morning classes to stop by the brain doctor that Dad had referred me to. Yes, given the fact that he was attacked by these psychological delusions, Takuru might have exhibited the insanity that the other victims had. The results have been the same, as Dad had said. No abnormalities in the blood vessels in my brain. Interesting. So if that's not what caused the swelling in the brains of the victims, then that begs the question as to what exactly happened. When I told Kurisu over the phone, she sounded relieved, and if Mio was overhearing this, she would be incredibly disappointed because that rules out another one of her scientific theories. But oh well. We lived. We lived to see another day. I wasn't feeling hungry, but I didn't want to let the sandwich go to waste. I took a little nibble of it as I stared at the board on the wall. Which is getting incredibly overcrowded. But to answer your question there, Takuru, that depends on whether or not a fifth victim actually turns up. Considering the fact that since their original target, which of course was Takuru himself, was spared, they might have thrown in a substitute to throw people off. But that's just a theory. The net had been in an uproar last night, no surprises there. No, it still was. But not because something had happened. In fact, the uproar was because nothing had happened. So we managed to have some sort of effect. I checked a bunch of different places, TV, radio, and even the newspaper. But nothing happened on the 23rd that would make you think of the New Generation madness. No other victims, no strange weirdness or anything like that. Which would ultimately throw a wrench in the works if they were intending to use the New Generation madness as a cover. But with no fifth victim, that's definitely going to cause everyone to reevaluate just what the 4 previous murders were all about. There were all kinds of rumors going around on the net. This included a weird conspiracy theory that the killer had been captured, but because he was the son of a major politician, they couldn't go public with it. Yeah, it's definitely a crazy conspiracy theory since both of those are wrong. But most people thought that the return of the New Generation madness was over now that nothing had happened on the 23rd. We all know what over means, but in case you don't know, here it is. Net slang, often used to refer to a game, anime, or news phenomena that is past its prime and that no one pays any attention to anymore. It's also often used to refer to things that aren't actually finished, that still have passionate fans, as a form of insult or harassment. Now that is a very good question. Will there be more victims?
おう、宮代。病院はもういいのか?
Hello again, Shinji.
ああ、おかげさまで異常なしだってさ。
Yes, indeed. No problems whatsoever.
よかったね。
Ito and Serika were both carrying lunch boxes of their own. Kurusu had made their lunches this morning, just like she'd made mine. Well, that's, very convenient. You should be grateful for this, Ito.
けど、登校するなり部室に直行してランチとか、いいゴミ分だな、おい。
授業は午後からでいいって言われたからさ。それに、マップを見ながらいろいろ考えてみようと思って。
Yeah. Now that the fifth event has been skipped, everything is up in the air from this moment forward. It's all free game.
これ以上何もするなって今朝新庄さんに言われたろ。
When we told Shinjo that there had been another attack by the person we believed to be Senri Minamisawa, he demanded to know why we hadn't told him sooner. Maybe because we were the ones who were being attacked? And then he insisted that we never do anything so dangerous again.
でも考えるくらいならいいだろう。
I put the lid back on my lunch, having barely eaten any of it at all, and looked back at the map.
昨日僕たちはカフェラックスにいた。そこで事件が起こった。僕の前に現れたのは以前襲ってきたあの女だった。
Well, I could pick certain answers for absolute silliness, but I'm not going to. Yeah. Momose we can rule out, and Kunosato... Yeah, it's Senri Minamisawa. Yeah, but just because we've avoided a death doesn't mean that it's over.
そしてその能力は
She was a pyrokinetic. Hmm.
ところがカフェラックスで僕を襲ったのはパイロキネシスじゃなく別の能力だった。それは
Yeah. That was a different ability. Showed me the illusion of being alone. We're just, we're going straight for, what happened. But that was the result of somebody else's power. Other than Senri, Minamisawa.
ってことは、やっぱり南沢千里は一人で二つの能力を持ってるって推測が正しいのかな。
いや、まだ確証は持てない。別の能力者が協力している可能性を否定できないし。
Yeah. We won't know until we have absolute proof. There is an accomplice.
それで襲われた時の緊張のせいでタクがまぶたの血管を切っちゃって、結局 みんなで青葉寮へ移動したんだよね。
And Serica just wrapping that up there.
ああ、僕はそこで父さんの診察を受けて、その後みんなで23日が過ぎるのを待ってた。
そういえばさ、あの時副部長と有村なんか言い争いとかしてなかったか？なんだったっけ？
言い争い？
そういえば、
They were fighting about something. We already know what it was. Yeah, because Senri Minamisawa was Kurusu's friend. He didn't believe that she was the killer. We have to accept, we have to include that in our...
そうそう、のんちゃんがね、南沢千里さんは絶対に犯人じゃないって言ったんだよ。
猟奇殺人なんてできる子じゃないって言ってたな。昔親友だったからわかるって。
Yeah. When they knew each other, Senri was apparently very timid.
でもさ、あの時に有村は副部長が嘘をついてるって指摘したんだよ。あれってどういうことだと思う
？Yeah, there is one aspect of Kurusu's past that
確かあの
didn't
時
quite add up.
有村が嘘だと指摘したのは
It was a lie that she saw Senri Minamisawa die in the earthquake. In fact, Hanai actually said that, yeah, Kurusu... Yeah. Memory can play tricks on people sometimes. It happens.
思い出した。クルスは南沢千里が目の前で死ぬのを見たって言ったんだけど、それが嘘だったんだ。つまり死んだところを見てない。
A lie, but an unconscious one.
きっとのんちゃんはね、
At least in
親
this
友だった子が
instance.
犯人扱いされてるのが許せなかったんだよ。それでとっさに嘘をついちゃったんだと思うんだ。
まあ、確かに副部長の気持ちになってみりゃな。
Indeed.
そうだな。
But, she did drop that ID that was, retrieved by Shinjo and the police.
やっぱり南沢千里の話題はクルスがいるときは少し気を使った方がいいな。
Of course, there is the very real possibility that Kurusu and Senri will have to confront each other once and for all. I stuck a paper up on the board. She could be the killer. Again, assuming that there is a lone killer, which we actually can't.
そして問題はその後か。
あ
あ。青葉委員の1階でユイが
Yeah.
ドアがノックされるのを聞いたんだよね。
It was the same thing I'd heard at Cafe LAX, that woman's knock. And Yui had seen a terrifying sight. She tried to break into the dorm.
僕でさえカフェであれだけ恐怖したんだ。何も知らないユイはさぞかし怖かっただろうな。
うん。かわいそう。
Fortunately, Yui didn't open the door. She quickly shut and locked it and saved us at the last minute. Definitely hope she gets better. But if she'd opened the door all the way... it's-
いや、待てよ。
I looked up from the map toward the ceiling. Something seemed very wrong.
お、どうしたのタク？
Something that's apparently out
な
of
んか思い出した
place.
のか？
Seruka and Ito looked at me, confused.
いや、なんか引っかかった。ものすごく大変なことを見落としてる気がする。
え？
ん？
Something crucial. Even Kazuki was surprised enough that she turned away from Ezo too to look at me. Apparently she's been
大変なこと？
overhearing us.
ああ、昨夜はいろんなことがあって、有村がパニクったり、僕も気が動転してて気づかなかったけど。
That's right. What was I just thinking now? If Yui had opened the door,
当然、これまでの事件から考えれば、ユイも被害者に。でも、それって。
yeah, all the other victims opened the door as well and let their proverbial killers inside.
それってつまり。
But there is something else to that too. I looked at the map again.
前にも話したけど、今回の事件には一つ明らかに共通する特徴があったよな。
って言うと？
それは被害者だ。
Indeed. They all have powers that are unique to
最初
Gigolomaniacs.
の事件、こっちみんな。被害者とその特徴は。次は音漏れタン。被害者とその特徴は。
Just going through what we already know, what we can see there.
僕が目撃した回転デッド。被害者とその特徴は。
Yeah. Kakita was a mind reader.
そして学園祭で起きたごっつぁんです。被害者とその特徴は。
That, of course, being the unfortunate Watabe who had the ability of psychic photography. Now, interesting fact, there was one individual who had this unique power.
そう。
In ChäoS
事件
Head.
のターゲットになっている被害者は全員能力者だ。それ以外は襲われていない。だからこそ僕や有村山添はずっと警戒していたわけだし、事実カフェラックスでは僕がターゲットにされた。でも
As evidenced
アウ
by
バ
the
寮に現れた
delusions.
南沢千里が襲撃しようとしたのは。
Yeah, but there was somebody else who she was after. Who, if it had happened, would have been an unfortunate bystander in all this. The person who was standing there when it all happened. Yui herself.
そう、ユイだ。
Which, would ultimately go against, everything we know so far about the case. Unless. I stood up in shock.
まさか、そんな。
It would be too much of a coincidence if it
ゆ
was.
いちゃんもってこと？
Gigalomaniac? Is she? Possibly. But we have no evidence. She could have just been, she could have been an unfortunate, innocent casualty.
マジかよ。
It was far too late for it to make a difference now, but I suddenly felt a cold pillar of ice, or like a cold pillar of ice was pressed against my back. I was certain that Senri Minamisawa had come to Aoba Clinic in search of me, Arimura, or Uki, and that Yui had only been caught up in it at all because she was unlucky enough to answer the door. But what if I was wrong? What if there was a reason she was after Yui? It might seem like paranoia, but we can't rule it out. I sighed. It was hard for me to really believe.
これから確かめてくる。あいつが本当に能力者なのかどうか。
Yeah, I know it doesn't sound good, but there is still just the possibility that Senri might have left her alone after all. But I wonder. Looks like Yui's
悪い。
awake.
起こしちゃったな。
あれ？タクルに学校は？
早退した。お前のこと気になってさ。
Yeah, it came to check up on you.
またまた。
Yui slowly sat back up from the bed and smiled a tired smile. She must have felt dizzy for a moment because she leaned forward and grabbed her forehead. Her face was still pale and the ivy looked like it was painful.
いいからそのまま寝てろって。
でも
Probably shouldn't exert yourself that much.
クレスに言いつけるぞ。
I don't think being a tattletale is going to win you any favors there, Takuru. Those are always the best words to use on Yui. She frowned for a second, but then laid down and pulled up the covers.
有村は？
The other bed on the exam room was empty. Where is she?
お昼ごろ、新庄さんって刑事さんが来て、二人で出かけていった。また後で来るって。
Oh, that makes sense. She's being questioned. Shinjo was probably asking her about last night.
あいつ、もう体は大丈夫なのか？
うん、 元気だったみたい。
Looking okay and feeling okay are two different things.
そっか。
However,
タクル兄にね、ありがとうって伝えてくれって。
but we were actually able to calm her down, of course, and Kurisu as well.
え、
My eyes went wide as I looked at my foster sister. Arimura said thanks.
何かの聞き間違いだろ。
そんなことないよ。いい人だよ、有村さん。タクル兄にもちゃんと感謝してると思うけど。
聞き間違いじゃなきゃただの気の迷いだな。
Yeah, panic can make you do strange things. I pulled up a stool up to Yui's bed and sat down. And then I watched her as she lay under the covers. It might have been the first time I'd looked at her like this, come to think of it. Did she have some kind of power? It just seemed hard to believe, and of course we can't just ask her straight out. That would be ridiculous. Maybe I was mistaken. I hoped I was. People were saying that the killings were over and that the return of the new generation madness was at its end. But the killer still hadn't been caught. The idea of the killer being after not just me, Arimoto, and Uki, but also Yui was too scary to contemplate.
何？どうしたの？
We don't want to worry Yui too much. As I tried to figure out the best way to explain things, I heard a very uncomfortable voice. She must have noticed that I was staring at her silently. My sister was looking at me in confusion.
あのな、
あら、タクル。
No, it's Kurisu and Uki.
おかえりなさい。
まだお帰りなさいっていう時間じゃないでしょ。
Kurisu was standing at the door, holding a tray with a bowl of rice porridge. Uki was next to her with a pair of spare pajamas. Kurisu put the tray next to the bed and looked at me, concerned. Well, once again, we're in an awkward situation. Can't really explain this possibility.
学校早退したの？どこか具合でも？
Well, you could say that.
ごめん、そうじゃなくて、ちょっと気になることがあってさ。
気になること？
Yeah, how are we going to broach this with her, I wonder? Not easily. Even if Yui was a psychic, I still wasn't sure if I should tell Kurisu about it. She'd just worry more, and more besides, as well. But she cared about her sister, I knew that, and the rest of her adopted family. It was probably better if she knew everything. Even if it might just be nothing more than a crazy hypothesis, bereft of any logic or rationality whatsoever.
どうすれば確かめられるかな。
The fact that Yui herself might have actually been a target? And then I remembered the method that Kunosato had used on me. I glanced at Uki. She probably wouldn't like it, but it was the only way I could think of. A little bit of reverse psychology, methinks?
なあ、ユイ。
Or perhaps...
昨べのことをあんまり思い出したくないと思うけどさ。
That she doesn't.
有村とそこにいる山添が手に何か持っているのを見なかったか？
No, it's a strange question. Kurusu and Uki were shocked too.
何かって？
二人は剣のようなものを持っていたんじゃないか。
Probably should have asked this question before Kurusu and Uki showed up, but well, we can't do anything about that now.
剣。
But, yeah, both Uki and Hanai were both had their D swords at the ready, just in case.
ねえタクル、あなた何を言ってるの？
However, it all depends on the answer that Yui gives. For if she says yes, our worst fears might be realized. Although, given her current state of mind, she could just be confused. There is no way to know for certain. Of course, the only way to know for certain is to have Uki or Hanai Arimura demonstrate their D swords right in front of Yui. And then, only then, cruel as it may be, we would have our definite answer. Kurusu grabbed me by the arm. She couldn't see the D sword herself, but she knew exactly what I was asking.
ユイ、そんなの見てないわよね。
I know you want to protect her. I really do. But, we need all the pertinent information we can get. We cannot afford to bury our heads in the sand, especially at this late stage in the game.
見てない、知らない。
That answer does not fill me with confidence there, Yui. Yui must have been surprised by Kurusu's sudden outburst. It was obvious she was telling a lie. I could see from the look on her face that she thought she had seen something she wasn't supposed to see.
山添、ごめん。お前が嫌なこと頼んでもいいか？
I really don't want to do this, but Nono Kurusu, you kind of, you're bringing this on yourself here.
もしもユイがそうなら、犯人が逮捕されるまで、お前や有村と同じように僕が守らないといけないから。
はい。
On the bright side, if Yui can't see the D sword, then she is safe. At least safe is. Uki was surprised, but she seemed willing to help her old friend. She put the pajamas on the bed and stretched her hand out into empty air.
ユイさん、見ていてね。え？あの。
We're about to find out.
ウキちゃん、ダメ、やめて。
「
Kurusu let go of my arm and grabbed onto Yui, as if she were trying to stop her from showing it to Yui.
クリス、ごめん。でも手遅れになってからじゃ遅いんだ。だから。
Yeah. We need to confirm our suspicions or disprove them. Lying to ourselves because it's convenient will not do that.
ほら、見えるだろ、ユイ。山沿いの手に何があるか。
Uki slowly drew it out of thin air. As it shone with a light no normal person can see. It was the weapon that connected the reality to the Diraxi and its ocean of negative energy, the D-Sword. Well, here we go. Moment of truth. Oh dear. Here's the thing. As terrifying as this weapon is, as terrifying as it looks, it is currently not real-booted. In that state, only other gigalomaniacs can see this sword. Which means it was obvious that Yui's eyes were following Uki's sword. Yeah. It is a good thing that Takuru's suspicions put him down this path, otherwise things could have been very bad.
見えるのユイ。
It's not your fault, Yui. If anything else, it is not your fault.
見えるの
Yui looked like she was about to cry. Then she nodded. Slowly.
山添、もういい。ありがとう。
The D-Sword disappeared from Uki's hands. There was nothing left but an awkward silence.
そんな。
Oh, but it is. It's as we feared. If Yui hadn't thought to lock the door and prevent Senri Minamisawa from entering the dorm, she might have been the fifth victim of the second New Generation madness. I was right. Yui was a gigalomaniac. And Senri Minamisawa had almost killed her last night. Even though she was after Takuru, Uki, and Hanai. On top of that, October 24th, 2015, Saturday. Later.
この匂い、どこかで。
That was the first thing Shinjo thought as he ducked under the crime scene tape and went inside the third floor condo. He knew the smell. What smell was it? From where?
あ、そうだ。ニューヨークで。
When he was training in America, a local colleague had taken him to a cheap steakhouse. Huh. Well, this place is fairly artsy looking. Think about it. The waiter had brought him a disgusting grilled lamb steak. Must have not been prepared well, because normally grilled lamb steak is can actually be quite good if served properly. The smell was a mix of rotting animal blood and burnt fat. He hadn't even taken a single bite. Yeah. Good call there, Shinjo. And that was precisely the smell that filled the room right now. The source of the stench was in the middle of the room, on top of the dinner table. The forensics people must have finished their job, because it had already had a sheet placed over it. Now it was just waiting to be carried out to the coroner. Ah. The public might have its fifth victim after all. Shinjo put his hands together for a moment in silent prayer, then flipped up the sheet. The second he saw it, he yanked the handkerchief out of his pocket and forced it to his mouth to stop himself from throwing up. Yeah. He didn't think it was going to end so soon, just because Takuru and the others made it out alive, if not unscathed. But that would be cheating. He knew it was disrespectful for the dead, to the dead, but he couldn't help it.
ご苦労様です、新庄先輩。
He looked up and saw a younger detective talking to the forensics people. The detective lacked his usual energy. This was probably the worst case he'd ever seen. Shinjo didn't want to look bad in front of the younger kid, so he forced his handkerchief away from his mouth.
ああ、ご苦労。ガイシャの身元ははっきりしたかい？
それがですね、衣服を着用していない上に遺体の損壊が激しくて、今のところ確実なのは10代から30代の女性ってことしか。
So they can't identify her in the current state she's in. She could see hints on the charred flesh that indicated the body had once belonged to a woman. So because Senri wasn't able to get her prime targets, she was instead forced to find another unfortunate victim, who was a potential gigalomaniac. A victim that could very well have been Yui on that fateful evening. But not now. Not this time. The face was so burnt there was no way to distinguish any features. And even stranger, there was what looked like a metal stick coming out of her mouth. The rod came out all the way below her abdomen, like a skewer used to cook a kebab.
10日ほど前でしょうか。近くの工事現場から鉄筋が盗まれたっていう届けが出てるそうです。
Now that's very convenient. Conveniently coincidental. The detective flipped open his notepad.
鉄筋っていうと、あれか。コンクリートの壁に使う？
Yeah, pretty much.
ガイシャの口から出てるのがそれのようです。
そういえば昔こんな映画があったな。
It was an old 80s horror flick that he'd seen with some friends in college. The movie was about a bunch of travelers who got lost in the jungle and eaten by cannibals. In one scene, someone had been cooked like this. I wouldn't know what that movie is. And there was one more thing. This incident reminded him of a number of others he'd seen recently. Yes, indeed. The return of the new generation madness. Nope, it's far from over. They're still keeping this train wreck going, it seems. But that is going to bring an end to this episode of Let's Play Chaos Child, and when we return, adventurers, it's only a matter of time before this fifth murder starts circulating around the internet and makes its way over to the newspaper club of Hekio Academy. As always, adventurers, until next we meet.